I always say, like, whenever I'm manifesting, I always say this or better. And it was really wild because
Seems like all these different timelines of ourselves,
that's so true.
and so we're like, okay, we're living this dream overlooking the water, but
Could filter in again as a resentment towards money in their current life, a feeling of lack and like a survival mode. In that case, that life would filter into being, what do we want in the long run? And we sat down together and we wrote out
we're going to be talking about manifesting today and how to do it as a couple as opposed to just doing it by yourself, because I think it's different, right? Manifesting as a couple, you got to have these like aligned visions and things like that. So we're going to get into that. And we've been listening to Brian Scott's book about parallel realities. I think it's called Revolutionary Reality.
I think it's actually a reality revolution.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. And it's really interesting talking about just how there's different realities that exists and different versions of you on these different timelines that you can tap into. And so,
Yeah,
I mean,
like
I think you've been paying attention to it more than me. What have we
yeah.
been learning, Marley?
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool because he starts off the book, and we were listening to the audiobook version, but he starts it off by talking about quantum physics and really going down sort of like the scientific side of manifestation. And I am really a lot more emotional based. And so everything I do is very based off of what feels right, and everything I believe is based off of, what I feel in my gut. And so listening to him break it down very scientifically and like these are the underlying particles, and like this is why manifestation works, and this is why parallel realities is a theory, because the quantum physics, it's still a little over my head, but it was really fascinating to kind of hear like, okay, there's actually like a lot of scientific evidence of manifestation and parallel realities. And when we talk about parallel realities, it's like there's these different versions of us based off of the life choices that we make. And so, every time there's a theory that every time that you have to make a choice, you're putting energy into maybe two different pathways that you could go down. And then when you choose the pathway that you go down, the other pathway also kind of splits off in a different parallel reality. You could say that it's more of a potential reality. You could also say that it's actually like there's a version of you that's also existing in a different timeline. It's kind of like whatever resonates for you, but there's like a version of you that is maybe more overweight, a version of you that is more like fit. There's a version of you that is really wealthy. There's a version of you that's really, poor, or like, there's just like so many different versions of ourselves. And he talks about how you can align yourself to, your really wealthy version of yourself by kind of like aligning your life choices to that version of you.
Yeah.
And your energy and your frequency and your thoughts and your emotions.
That's what we're also going to talk about today is manifesting wealth as a couple. and we're calling in $100 million as our
Yeah.
couple's manifestation vision.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. What?
and
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
oh yeah, well, I was also just gonna say that he started the book in a really interesting way. Also, he was in a home invasion where somebody broke into his house, and then it was a whole thing. He ended up getting shot. But the other thing that he talked about was that there's all these like accounts, and it happened for him too, of people having items in their house that they've like never seen before, and so that when they like step into this other reality, they're like, I didn't even know that was there. Or like
Mm-hmm.
statues at a park, and so
Yep.
that was interesting.
Yeah, and when he talked about getting shot, he also talks about all the different potential timelines that could have played out, and there were versions of him that didn't survive that moment. And because of how he navigated it from like a grounded, calm place, he was able to listen to his intuition and make choices that he wouldn't have made if he was like super panicked and stressed out. And so he also talks about like being, you know, calm and like navigating your life in a very calm way. And gosh, I feel like I learned so much, and we haven't even finished
Yeah, we're
it.
only like a quarter halfway into it.
Yeah, yeah. But it also just kind of like confirmed everything that I already intuitively have been doing. And also, part of the reason why we're calling in a very specific amount of money, like $100 million, it's not about getting like stuck on the number, but it's being specific with, the universe of like, this is what we're calling in. And to me, $100 million is like, we don't have to worry about our finances. We don't have to like concern ourselves with it, and we can, create the reality that we want freely, effortlessly. It's not so much about the number, it's more so like what it means to us.
Yeah, and it's got to be specific
Mm-hmm.
too, because there's probably areas in your life where you've had a vision or a dream to do something, but it wasn't quite specific, and then you end up in a similar. It's not quite exactly what you might have wanted, but it's like similar to it,
Mm-hmm.
and that can be the universe guiding you, and it doesn't quite know what you want because you haven't been specific, so it gives you something similar.
Yeah.
If yeah,
I want to say like we we did an episode, and we ended up taking these episodes down because we wanted to restart our podcast in a fresh new way. But we did an episode about manifestation not that long ago. Maybe, what was it? I think it was actually like last February. And we talked about wanting, like, manifesting moving to Kauai. And I always say, like, whenever I'm manifesting, I always say this or better. And it was really wild because we were kind of like talking about that in the episode. Like,
yeah, and
I want
then
to move to Kauai or better. And I just kept saying in the episode or better. And I think that's so important because also, even though you might think you know what you want, the universe, like, will not always give you exactly what you want. It'll give you an energetic match to what like really is fulfilling for you, if that's what you're calling in. And but we were very specific. We want to live in Kauai,
or
and
better.
or better.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, our tiny home had a huge mold issue, and we had to move out. We didn't have anywhere to live, and we either could have, taken that as like, oh my gosh, our whole life is falling apart, what's happening? Instead, we like took it as an opportunity to take the leap and move to Kauai. And so 2 months later, we had a plane ticket to Kauai. We moved there, and it was a wild ride. And we ended up not finding a stable home and moving to Oahu, where now we are grounded and happy and so grateful that everything unfolded the way that it did. But it just goes to show that even when things like don't go as planned, if you're aligning, and I always say I'm calling in my highest timeline.
Yeah.
I'm aligning with my highest divine timeline. I trust in the unfolding. Everything that happens is an opportunity for something better to come into my life. And like having that mindset opens you up for opportunities. It changes the way that you make your choices in life. Like I said, we could have just been like, oh my gosh, our life just completely fell apart. We have nowhere to live. Like,
Yeah. Well,
what
I
do
mean,
we do?
it kind of is what it felt like in the moment. Like, we got to,
Oh, yeah.
we had to like take all of our stuff out of the house, and we had people trying to work on it, and then
We had to throw
like,
everything out.
yeah, we were like staying at different family members' houses and like moving around, and then
Yeah, I guess we could just give a little context here. It was like a long-term leak in the home that we kept having like experts come in and like fix the leak, and they'd fix it, quote, and then they didn't actually fix it because they didn't like find the source of the problem. So at some point mold ended up growing so much that the whole house started to like become toxic.
yeah, and it's a tiny house, so once the water spreads out through like all the plywood, the structure of the building, then it's really hard to go and replace it, as opposed to like if you have a bigger house, it's easy to just take off a section. But
Yeah.
with a tiny house, once you have water damage, it's pretty difficult. And
Yeah.
yeah, especially because of the water leak was in this weird spot that we did end up finding out what it was. But
Yep, but it was
yeah.
too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm super sensitive. I'm still dealing with like the repercussions of the mold exposure.
Yeah, because we don't know how long you were living in there with it, and
Honestly, I think it might have been when I first bought it, because I think it's possible there was like a loosened pipe that happened. That
yeah,
you kind of talk about that.
yeah. Well, it ended up being the pipe behind the wall in the shower. So I think what happens with these tiny houses is when they get, like, yours got transported a few hours, and so
Yeah, it was a pretty
things
far
like
transportation.
bump around. And I mean, I also had a tiny house before we even met, and I got water damage. I had to replace the whole flooring.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez.
But it wasn't as bad as a leak. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's just when they go over
It wasn't just a few hours. It was like a 6-hour
yeah.
drive, I think. So yeah, pretty dang far. And so it was like at the time like a huge tragedy. And also, let's take a leap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so here we are. Kev, I want to also talk about like things that we're doing to bring in financial wealth together.
Yeah, well, you have to do something, right? You can't just call this in and then hope it just appears.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe like we talk about the behind the scenes things, like your home, keeping your home clean, your subconscious.
Right.
And then we can talk about like streams of income,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah, I think it's really important to keep your home clean because you need to feel deserving of a clean space. So
Mm-hmm.
that's actually a really important one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that. I took like a marketing course on, I don't even know, it was just like on marketing. But I think the biggest takeaway that I took from this course was the foundational, like the first video was like the foundational things to know about bringing in wealth. And they said, whatever you do, however you do it, and I'm like, I don't remember, it was a really nice quote and I can't remember the exact quote, but it was how you do anything is how you do everything. That's what it was. Wow, I'm so glad I remember that. So how you do anything is how you do everything. And that has stuck with me so much because it's so true. How you take care of your home, how you treat the people in your life, how you know, if you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, all these things, like, it's going to impact your business. Because if you're not showing up 100% for every little thing that you do for your relationships, for your life, like, you're not going to show up 100% for your business either. It's also a psychological thing. Like, your subconscious recognizes if you show up, and it will kind of start to talk down to you if you're like, say that you're going to do something and you don't do it. It's going to like subconsciously ingrain in your head, like, well, I'm not reliable. I don't do the things that I say I'm going to do. I'm not a clean person, you know? And
Yeah, so yeah, that's a really good start. Yeah.
yeah, and like, honestly, I have never really been that clean of a person. I can be kind of like messy and stuff, but
Yeah, recently we've gotten to be really clean, especially, this is our first time now living in the tropics, so we've lived all together here for what, like 9 months? Yeah, about 8 months.
yeah.
So, and we've actually lived with, because in Hawaii everybody like lives together in this the same house. There's like 6 people living in one house.
Yeah.
They're like, not related to each other. They're like, the houses are turned into apartments basically. So, but we had a roommate, and she was a professional house cleaner and feng shui
Yeah.
designer or whatever. So, sharing a space, sharing a kitchen with her, and she was really teaching us like how to be very clean.
Yeah.
And so it was actually cool. We got like these lessons, from different people we've lived with so far on this journey.
Yeah, we lived with like very clean people, and I realized, wow, like, I want to live like this. I want my home to look nice. And before I would clean my home, if someone was coming over, my home would be a mess maybe otherwise, but if I knew someone was going to show up, I'd be like, oh, I got to clean my house. But now I do it for myself, for my psychological health, for even my physical health. After the mold incident, I was like, whoa, I can't I can't subject myself to that. Like, mold is a really big deal, and it grows everywhere, especially in like a warm environment. So I feel like we've had many lessons over the past year of just, yeah, how to be clean and take care of yourself, and also do those things for you, not for other people. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that just like really impacts the way that I see myself. I feel more professional. I feel it's impacted my the way that I treat myself, and it's subtle, but it's also like monumental in that I'm like, oh, I'm like one of those people. I got my life together. It makes me feel that way. And then when you hold that energy, you're holding the frequency of, you know, your wealthy self. Like, I've also been trying to think, like, how would my multi-million dollar self think? How would she act? What would she do? What choices would she make? Back to the reality revolution guy.
Right. Like, um, yeah, like, what would your non-million dollar self do? And then what would your million dollar self do? Like,
Yeah.
maybe your non-million dollar self is gonna procrastinate and say, I'll do that tomorrow. And
Yep.
then your million dollar self is like, we're gonna do a podcast right now.
Yeah. Exactly. We're not going to mess around. There's no excuses. No more excuses. That's probably the biggest thing that I've been shifting is no more excuses. And, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia when I was 20, and I deal with chronic fatigue to this day, and it's pretty intense. And I think that it's really easy to kind of like self-sabotage and go down that rabbit hole of like, well, I don't have the energy, I'm tired, my body hurts. And I mean, actually, I've done a lot of healing. I found that emotional trauma, past life emotional trauma, was sort of like the root of a lot of the pain in my body. So actually, I'm in a lot less pain than I was a long time ago. And gosh, emotional healing, we can talk about that too. That is also key, because if you're not acting from an authentic place, if you're not emotionally aligned, nothing's going to manifest. If your emotions do not align with what you're calling in, if you're like, I'm calling in this, but you have all this trauma around money, it's not like, there's going to be a disconnect there. Every part of you needs to align 100% with your multi-million dollar self. Okay, I feel like I went off topic though. What was I? I was talking about like, no excuses. Just even like even though I deal with like chronic fatigue and I'm extremely sensitive to the world, all these things, like in the past I could kind of like get down on myself about it and be like, gosh, it's really hard to like navigate this world with all of these things going against me. But instead I'm like, okay, actually, like, how can I like navigate these limitations and kind of like find pathways to success that honor my body and whatever limitations I'm facing. Like, I don't have to fight my body, but I can like align with a different path.
And part of your healing has been moving to a warmer environment, I think,
right,
year round, and
yeah,
that, I think that's been part of it, because in colder weather, I think it's harder for people with fibromyalgia because their nerve endings are colder, and it's like, so that, I think, has been part of you feeling better.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah.
And that was part of, I mean, that might have been part of why you were manifesting to live here also. Like, could have been, a couple different reasons.
No, that's huge.
Yeah. I think the other thing is, I mean, It's not like we just moved here and we're manifesting this money, but I think, like maybe we should be asking, or people should be asking, where does their $1 million self live?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Oh, it makes me think of we sat down and we wrote out, after listening to this Reality Revolution guy, we were like, okay, we need to figure out, what do we want? What are we calling in? Because at that point I felt very scattered. I felt like there were so many different paths that I could take, so many different directions I could go, but what do we want in the long run? And we sat down together and we wrote out, well, first we individually just wrote out, what is our dream life? And, he wrote out his thing, I wrote out mine, and then we shared. And it was very detailed. I actually even wrote out a whole scene. I was like, okay, beachfront home, and I don't know.
Going into the scene of a movie, what's going on in this specific day.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I want a beachfront home. I feel like we need to. That's something we're still unraveling.
Yeah, well, we've gotten to live in the mountains in Hawaii. We've gotten to live right on the beach, overlooking the water, and then now we're living, a few blocks back from the beach, and kind of tucked in between the ocean and the mountains. And we've kind of found, so we've gotten to, it's really weird because we've moved, once a month basically for the past 6 months. And so we've gotten to live in all these, it seems like all these different timelines of ourselves.
That's so true.
And so we're like, okay, we're living this dream overlooking the water, but, there are some downsides to that. The place we were living in was sort of, what? Well, I mean, our old landlord's going to watch this. I don't want to bash on the house.
No, I mean, I think, no. I think it was a great house. I think what we just noticed about
it's just
owning a home on the water is they get a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, and they're constantly, if it doesn't rain, it's still, your front deck is going to be wet because of the ocean spray, and so that can deteriorate, 4 times quicker.
Exactly, and just that was a huge learning curve. Little things. That's the thing, is experience also matters when you're manifesting, and learning from experience and not taking it as, oh, the wrong thing happened. Learn from it. Take it as an opportunity to be regroup and be okay, never mind, I don't want to manifest that specifically,
And just, I guess, to touch on that too, it's there's all these little ups and downs and different ways of looking at, do you want to manifest to live on the beach, or do you want to manifest to live, a little bit a ways, back from the beach. So, one of the just funny perspectives that I think you were laughing at me about was, when we were waking up, at the beach, I was just saying, wow, this is great. We don't even have to go, we don't even have to go to the beach. We're just here, But then I was also like, well, kind of takes away from the excitement of going to the beach. When you go to the beach and you haven't seen the water and you have no idea what it's doing, and then you get there and you're like, wow, it's kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, we could see it from our bed. We just kind of wake up.
Oh, but it was such a luxury.
Yeah, I mean, it was really nice. But now that we don't have an ocean view, one positive way of looking at it, or it's a way that could be actually better, is well, now it's such a treat that, I mean, we can walk to the beach. It takes us 4 minutes, but it's, when we get there, it's more kind of rewarding to be there.
That's true.
Way. So.
Yeah, that's really true. And you're so good at seeing the positives in every scenario. That's something that like I feel like you're really good at, is you'll just kind of like sink into different experiences and be like, this is the best experience because you're so present.
Yeah.
But I also agree, like I think there's positives and negatives to all different things, and but I think ultimately, like when you're manifesting, it's like a balance of being clear with what you want, you know, writing it down, writing out your dream life, and then letting go and surrendering and trusting that there's divine forces that are at play, and your higher self is listening, whatever you want to call it, universe, higher self, they're listening. And as soon as you write down what you desire, it starts to unfold. And as that starts to unfold, it's like the universe is asking you, are you sure this is what you want? Because your life might start to crumble like mold growing in your home. Everything falls apart. Like all these things start to go not as planned. Things get really hard. We didn't have a home in Kauai. We were even like living out of our car at one point. Like it was insane, and still making like, gosh, you had like an incredible job. That was the craziest thing. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was really interesting. I mean, yeah, we were living in a parking lot in Kauai, and I had a really, the best paying job I've ever had, and we still couldn't get a place. I mean, we could afford it, even though it is really expensive on Kauai, but just it was like the competition of people trying to
kind
get
of.
houses.
But you know what, honey? We
Yeah.
also said no to a lot of places.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, is being willing to say no, even if you're like feeling kind of desperate. And we were super desperate. We were
Yeah.
like sleeping in a car, you know.
But we were at the beach,
I mean, it
and
was
we
pretty nice. It was nice.
yeah.
But it was also like I was struggling a lot
Yeah.
with not having a grounded
Yeah, because
place
I
to
would go to
live.
work, and then, she would be in the car.
And I wasn't working
Well, oh,
yet.
okay, we had two cars actually. So this is
Mm-hmm.
it was funny because we had the car we were sleeping in, and then we had a little tiny hatchback that we
Yeah.
would like store some extra stuff in, and then I would get out of the car and then get in the little hatchback and go drive to work and leave Marley in the parking lot sleeping, and then she would get up later, and then she'd just be outside all day, and she'd have to like, you know, obviously
Yeah.
you don't want to be in the car all day, so but then you don't want to be in the sun all day, so you'd have to like just take some shade in the
Oh
trees.
my gosh. And I was working, the whole time I was working on my book. And so that was another thing, was like I wasn't working, but I was working on these projects. So I'd just be like, putting in edits and all these things, and I'd be like laying under these like this little patch of trees was like my little go-to spot, but it was just so hard to not have like a grounded, stable place. And like, yeah, I would get sunburned because if I wasn't careful, and so I had to like, anyway, all of that was just really challenging. And still we would go and view a place, someone would like, there'd be partiers next door, or the place smelled like mold, and
Or
every
smokers.
home there is like super expensive. And so, and we knew from the past experiences that we had not to sign a contract with a place that we weren't 100% in with, because it's a contract. And so, and we had to break a contract earlier because of someone was smoking cigarettes, and it was coming in through the home.
Yeah,
So,
like all day long. So
yeah,
it's
so
our,
like this all happened when we moved to Kauai, and that's what we thought like our dream was to live there. but the universe was like, there's something better. And because we were open to that timeline, it took a while for us to like really be like, wow, I think we're not meant to live on this island right now.
Yeah.
As soon as we left, we found a stable home, like within, I mean, we had a stable place to live, like within a couple days that we came to Oahu for like a month. And then we found like a much more stable home where we are now
Yeah. And
after that.
yeah, I mean, we're actually enjoying the island a lot more,
Yeah.
for, I think, a lot of different reasons. And another interesting
Mm-hmm.
thing is that we were talking like we might not have moved from Washington to Oahu,
Mm-mm.
because we're like, oh, it's like this, big city there, and it was a lot more intriguing to move from Washington to Kauai. It's like this,
Yeah.
exotic, undeveloped island for the most part.
Yep.
And then Oahu being very developed. And
Yeah.
so it's just in our mind, I think we were like, it's not, that idealized or whatever. And so,
Mm-hmm.
so that was kind of unexpected for sure.
Yeah. No.
But I think that's just part of the, the way the universe works, and
I think so.
when you're calling things in.
It's not, most likely, it's not going to be exactly what you think it's going to be. Let's just put it that way. Because your higher self knows the better timeline. But also, my work, I focus on clearing karmic cycles, and those are rooted in your emotional body. And I feel the emotional body is our eternal body. It's the part of us that remembers every life that we ever live. I call it the water body. And essentially, I mean, I see everything in cycles, I see everything in lifetimes. And so we can get kind of like trapped, our souls can get trapped in these cycles of experiencing the same things over and over again because we have unhealed trauma around money, unhealed trauma around stability. And so, I mean, a lot of times if I'm doing a reading on someone, I'll see that they have had lifetimes of being really rich and really poor, and that's influencing their relationship with money. Because actually, in the past, a lot of times having a lot of money didn't necessarily mean like freedom. There's especially like people who were born into royal families. You're born into this like hierarchy, and there's all this like pressure to be the role that you're born into, and it's actually kind of like imprisoning a little bit to like the soul, even though they're of like the highest rank of society. So it's really crazy. Or there's like arranged marriages that happen, and like abuse, and especially like women who are, don't have a say in who they're marrying. All these different things where wealth actually equaled in imbalance and insecurity, and was not like caused emotional wounds. And then the equivalent wound could also be rooted in like a lifetime where someone was super poor and didn't have anything. And so I guess what I'm getting at is like our soul can like be trapped in these cycles where maybe now, if you've had those kind of lifetimes, you resent money and you don't know why. Like, it could have nothing to do with your upbringing. But so, like, feeling into your emotions and like allowing them to speak, it doesn't have to like always make sense. It doesn't even have to like root to an experience in your current life, you don't even have to know where it's coming from. But allowing like yourself to like really sit with yourself and ask yourself like, how do I perceive money? And how is this impacting me like in my life? That could that's gonna help you like shift your perception.
Right. And like, what's an example of something from a past life affecting your, like, kind of like blocking your current life?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess in an example of a past life of being born into a royal family. So you're like of the highest rank, and um, you had to um, play out this role as maybe you had to be king. Maybe there was all this pressure on you to be a ruler, and you really didn't want to take on that responsibility. And you had to like, there wasn't a choice. There was a set path that you had to take, and pressure, and some people want to be king, so that's fine. But let's say that you didn't want that, and ultimately it's your fault that maybe a war started or something. Um, okay, so that could play into your current life as resenting money, as being like, well, if I have a lot of wealth, it doesn't even make psychological sense, like conscious sense, but your subconscious might then associate wealth with having to do things that you don't want to do. And I guess I'm trying to think of how else it could impact your current life. Like, in that case, it could be like, oh, if I have all that power, I'm not going to do it right. Like, I'm going to cause harm to people or something, because maybe in the past life, you felt like you were the cause of trauma within the civilization or something. Okay, so that's one perspective. Another example would be someone who maybe lived a past life where they didn't have any money. They're just scraping by. Maybe their like family is starving, and they have to, steal to get by or something. And in that case, it could filter in again as a resentment towards money in their current life, a feeling of lack and like a survival mode. In that case, that life would filter into being, it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're always going to feel a lack, because that emotional wound is still impacting you now.
Right. And so does that just impact your whole life no matter what, or is there a way to heal that?
No, I mean, it'll only impact your life if you're not doing the emotional healing work. So, you don't have to remember your past lives, although I think that that is one direct way to like go to the root, is to explore accessing your past lives. I actually have an online course that walks you through step by step how to access and heal your past lives through your emotional water body. And I'll link that below. It's called Crystallize. It's all about clearing everything from the inside out. Crystallizing from the inside out, crystallizing your waters, which is just like alchemizing everything, all your past lives, so that you can be more present in here in your current life. Anyway, I go deeper into that in the link below. But yeah, I mean, just like the simple way to do it is just like holding space for your emotions and letting yourself feel without judgment, and just observing. And I think like the biggest thing is, yeah, just holding space for your feelings to speak, and knowing that they don't have to make sense, because they might not just be rooted in this one lifetime. And there might be a lot of pain that your soul still holds that needs to release. And so I think the biggest thing is just taking moments to tune in, do a body scan, feel into your body, feel into your feelings, feel into your sentience, and ask yourself, are you, like, how you portray yourself outward in the world, is it actually like how you feel inwardly? Because ultimately, like, the most, I guess, the most likely way that you're going to be able to like manifest your dreams, it's going to be through aligning your emotional state with how you act outwardly.
Right. Yeah, I think that's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you just have to have, like, it's just got to be aligned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your emotional, and then, you know, with what you're manifesting. So,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So,
yeah. And then,
mm-hmm.
so, I mean, maybe we should talk about now how we manifest as a couple,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like, so we did that we wrote down, we each wrote down like a scene
Mm-hmm.
in the movie of like what our life looks like, you know. It's like, okay. And so, yeah, and then, you know, we kind of read it to each other, and then, but I, you know, it's different incorporating as a couple,
Mm-hmm.
incorporating as an
Mm-hmm.
incorporated couple,
Yeah.
you know. And then, yeah, so like, how is that different kind of than just, and then I guess, is there like, because you're more versed in the emotional body and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And so what happens if one person's past lives are, you know, creating these different emotions, and then how do you make like a cohesive vision together when, you know,
Yeah.
we have different past lives, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this case it is important for both parties to be on board if you're going to be kind of doing past life healing like this. But also, you can just do your internal healing. And you can also like ask your spirit guides to work with your partners, or you can ask your higher self and spirit guides to work with your partner's higher self and spirit guides to help assist them in kind of like healing emotionally. But ultimately, it is important for them to be like on board with the emotional healing. And I guess just in like I said, you can do it all internally, but you can also hold space for each other to kind of like talk about, okay, well, I have these feelings around money. And I think people have a lot of blocks around talking about finances
Yeah, and I mean, I think
with each
all
other.
this kind of starts like, if you're going to talk about, you know, manifesting $100 million or things like that, well, you also have to start with just going over your current finances. So I know I mean, there's certainly a lot of couples that probably don't talk about their finances, but that's probably a good start is
Yeah.
to, just talk about, well, like, how much money do you have? I mean, some people don't even know how much they make per year.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got to know, I think your current numbers is
Mm-hmm.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, we talk about, we try to have regular money meetings. I'm like,
Yep.
this is how much we're spending and this is how much we're making and this is, our, what our bills are. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you do the same thing. So we both are very, very open
Yeah.
about, we actually have a shared bank account. we
Yeah.
have, we have a,
But that's
yeah,
come with like being open with each other.
yeah.
And
And
like
so,
because we have this like open communication, we trust each other to be able to, share a bank account.
yeah. And we each have a debit card that just comes out of the same account. So she has a debit card. I have
My
a debit
debit
card.
card isn't even activated.
Yeah. I haven't showed her how to activate it yet. Mine's activated, but
It's
yours isn't working, I
no.
think.
It's fine though. Like then it just feels like he's like buying everything and it's
Yeah.
like I got you, honey.
Yeah. But yeah,
um
it all comes out of the same bank account.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I think just like having the open communication of like what are your insecurities about money and let's talk about this. And those conversations are really important to like setting the foundation. If you can't like agree upon how to deal with your money, you're not ready for $100 million, like it that's why manifesting together as a couple, if you're planning to like build a life with this person, you need to like be able to talk about money with them. And I mean, we listened to this guy, I don't, what's his name? Ram,
oh, Ramit Sethi, Money for
yeah,
Couples.
Money for Couples.
Yeah. Yeah, he
Yeah.
has a podcast and a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like so funny because we'll listen to his podcast and just like he'll be kind of like mentoring couples through how to talk
Yeah, like on the
about
podcast. It's
money.
really funny.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think it's actually helped us to kind of like listen to how other couples treat money and how they talk about it, and then come back to ourselves and be like, wow, okay, like how can we do this in
Yeah, there's a lot of
a better
interesting
way, I guess.
couples on there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, somebody will be mad. It's like, he never takes me out for dinner. And
Yeah.
he's like, well, eating out is too expensive. And then she's like, but your golf trips are not, It's like, or
Yeah.
like he asks, so how much money do you make per year? And the person's like, I don't actually know, but
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, gosh, this is making me think like there's a lot of layers to relationships because ultimately, like, difficulty talking about finances can be rooted in something far deeper, like a deeper emotional wound with this person. There's also karmic cycles that you can have with another person that need to be cleared. And this is all like you could have had a lot of lifetimes with your partner, and that could impact your dynamic now. Like maybe part of you perceives them in the light of their past life self without you realizing it. And that can impact you now because maybe they've changed or maybe they're trying to be a different version of that person, or maybe they're still stuck in the same cycle. And so, I mean, this is something Kevin and I offer is we do we call it conscious consulting, and we offer like month long package where we will meet with you once a week for 4 weeks. We also do like 3-month packages, and we will kind of help you clear these cycles.
Yeah, and we're feeling called to do this. It's really exciting, and I
Yeah.
think we're also going to offer like a free 15-minute consultation, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, so if you're just like interested in working with us and you want to learn more, you want to connect with us, you can just like book a free call with us down below, and we'd be really happy to meet with you and connect with you. And yeah, and what we do, I mean, we want to support you in manifesting your dreams. And whether that's a partner, whether that's bringing harmony to your relationship already, we also offer, working with couples. And so, yeah, we're here to kind of like support you through that. He kind of takes more of the like practical approach, and I take more of the emotional, you know, breaking karmic cycles, cutting unhealthy cords kind of thing, setting healthy boundaries in your life. That's another huge part of just everything, is knowing your boundaries, setting your boundaries.
Yeah.
I feel for like being your multi-million-dollar self is being like knowing your boundaries
Right.
with people, with everyone, and being clear with that and like speaking up. Because it's like how you treat one area of your life impacts every area of your life. So if it's kind of like, I just see kind of like you're not just trying to become like a multi-millionaire, like you're becoming the most refined version of you. You don't want to be a multi-million-dollar person and like still feel lack, you know? Like there's plenty of like millionaires who have a bunch of money and they still don't feel happy. So this is about like refining your life so that you're like not just like content and like I don't know, I'm losing my
Yeah.
words. Do you want to it's like
Yeah.
about being content with your life. Like right now I feel so content. I'm so happy. Like
Right. And we're really enjoying, our life right now because um we're obviously going to have a lot probably going on. We're gonna have to decide like what we're gonna buy and all this stuff once the money comes in. So it's like, okay, it's the same thing as like when you were single, you're just enjoying the time because you knew your partner was, that we talked about that in the first episode. But
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
no, but that's really good point. Like
so we're
being
we're
grateful
content.
for where you're at. And even if you're not grateful, even if you're in like a rut of a place, it's okay if you're not grateful. But start to recognize the resources that you have. There's always a resource, even if
Yeah.
it's like one little resource.
And you
There's always
can
something. And once you start utilizing the resources around you to like being clear of what you want, and then start to take the little steps, it will life will start to unfold where it will be clear what step you need to take to get to your dreams. Once you're clear on what your dreams are, and then start to like use those resources around you, and then you'll naturally start to feel grateful for the things in your life.
yeah, and be grateful for what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
like I feel like being in the energy too of like it's already yours, and you're just like refining. You're refining yourself
yeah.
in every way. Yeah.
And then yeah, so you can just to circle back to our consulting,
Yeah.
yeah, you can book I think it's just going to be through Calendly, but you can book that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can book that today.
You can just book that free call down below, and yeah, it's just a Calendly. We just want to make sure we're the right fit for you, and also kind of get clear on what you need, what you're calling in, and then we can kind of set up a plan for the next month or 3 months, depending how long you want to work with us. So,
Yeah, and then just to
yeah.
finish up the manifesting
Mm-hmm.
ideas we're sharing is that, once you write this stuff down, or you have a very exact thing of what you're calling in, then really tune in to what you're feeling called to do, like what
Mm-hmm.
feels important. And for us, we've been really tuning in, and we've been trying to organize our life and, like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, what are we being called to do? And one of those things is the consulting. So
Mm-hmm.
that's just kind of an example of how we're
Yeah.
tuning into, and maybe if we were not manifesting this, and we were just watching TV and, sitting on the beach all day,
Mm-hmm.
and we weren't thinking about this, well, we probably wouldn't have had this idea come in.
Yeah.
So I would just say, now as you're going through the rest of your day, or after you write this down, just really tune into, okay, what are you feeling called to do?
Opening up to multiple streams of income and like thinking about how you can open yourself up to receiving this money that you're calling in. Thinking like your multi-million-dollar self. You also need to think about like you said, like what you want to be doing, and also where your streams of income are going to be coming in. My multi-million-dollar self likes to be creative, and I like the idea of having multiple streams of income. That feels safe for me. What feels good and safe finances are connected to the root chakra, which is connected to your safety. And so, what feels safe and stable? My multi-million-dollar self, likes opening up multiple streams of income. So, I wrote a book. I have an online course. Kevin was just talking about how, we're doing this conscious consulting. I also do healing work. And I also, we're doing the Kangen business together as well. And that's also a huge stream of income for us because it's, well, one thing, it's like you're investing in your health, you're investing in your well being by drinking the highest quality structured water, and it's a stream of income. And so that's like, these are kind of the things that we're doing to like open up streams. And that is also just like kind of just an example of how you can kind of like think creatively, let yourself to like go there and just expand your mind and like create or do what you feel called to do, but like don't be afraid to open up multiple streams of income so that you can receive what you're calling in. And yeah, I guess I want to also talk a little bit about the Kangen business because, gosh, there's so much to say here, because also what you consume, what you put into your body, the audio that you listen to, the music that you listen to, you can listen to like solfeggio frequencies and subliminal messages that kind of like recode your mind to see yourself as a wealthier version of you. There's so many aspects to this, but also if you're like watching TV or watching videos of people who are in that lack mindset, it's going to attune you to that lack mindset. So just being aware of what you're consuming, what you're putting into your body, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And so that is also like why we have a Kangen machine, and why we are doing the Kangen business is because I feel really passionate about bringing awareness to the water that we drink, and drinking structured water and being conscious about what you're putting into your body is so important. And we are 70% water. So water is actually, you could say, even more important than the food that you consume. I still think food's very important, but water is like the foundation of who you are. Like, what is the water that you drink? And so, yeah, the Kangen business, this Kangen water is medical grade. It's a medical grade water ionizer that you can hook up to your sink, and it ionizes your water. It essentially structures your water. It's medical grade not because of the filtration. You have to get like, we have like a little pre-filter. Because it's made in Japan, it's not made for American water quality. But when essentially it's structured in a way that your body's able to absorb the water much easier, it's deeply hydrating, and it facilitates the body in detoxing and in healing itself. And so it's in over, like, I always say this fact because it like blows my mind, but it's in over like 400 hospitals in Japan, and there's a ton of different uses for the water. For the like, there's different pHs you can set it to. You can use it to like clean your home, and it's just like very multifaceted. There's like a skin pH, you can put it on your skin. It's same pH as your skin and your hair. And yeah, so I'm just kind of like skimming over this. We can go deeper into it later, but the business is like a stream. And so if you also feel called to doing the Kangen business, we will also mentor you too. So if you feel called to getting yourself a Kangen machine, drinking this high quality water, and you want to do the Kangen business, it's no extra cost to be a distributor. If you buy the machine, you can essentially be a distributor. And there's also options like for payment plans and things like that, because it is an investment. But if you feel called to do that, we will also mentor you.
Yeah, and you can join our team.
Yeah, and we'll kind of like support you in integrating the business into your life, integrating it in as a stream of income. And we like to encourage people to have multiple streams of income, think creatively, think outside the box when it comes to like how to integrate the Kangen business into their life. You don't have to sell it to friends and family if you don't want to. You can sell it to other businesses. You know, it's whatever floats your boat. But yeah, just another potential stream. So I just wanted to say that because that's just one of the many things that we're doing. So is there anything else you want to say?
No, yeah, just wish everybody well on their manifesting journey. And yeah, I think that's about everything for this episode.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up.
Yep, and subscribe to our channel. We're releasing new podcasts every Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
We're kind of dialing in what day is working best.
It could be a Monday. I don't know. We're figuring out the best day. Anyway.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Peace.